Hey everyone, you guys ready to learn how to make sushi? Come on down.
Yeah.
All right. This is gonna be so much fun.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna learn how to make sushi.
Yay.
This is awesome. You guys get to learn how to make sushi too. Just watch this episode. See you guys soon. Hey guys, my name is Sushi Randy, owner of Sushi Confidential. I know we're all sheltering in place right now. You're trying to find things to do for the kids, for yourselves. Well, we came up with a sushi making kit. This is gonna be perfect to give you and your family a chance to sit at the table, kind of bond, and be able to create something you've probably never made before. So I'm gonna go through what our sushi making kit contains. Again, you can purchase this at Sushi Confidential in downtown Campbell, and we'll be able to put these kits together. Everything's gonna be super fresh. We just need to know when you wanna pick it up, and we'll make sure we have it all set. These kits are gonna be perfect for probably 3 to 6 people, and we can also double it up if you happen to need more. So let's go through what's gonna be coming in with this kit. So obviously, you have to have some sushi rice. We have an extra bowl that you can put some water in, and I'll explain what the water's for. We have nori, which is the seaweed. So we're gonna have a bunch of seaweed for you. We also have some vegetables. We're gonna have some pre-cut cucumber. I'm gonna show you how to cut some avocado. Some of the proteins that we have regular crab. We have some spicy crab for you, and we also have some spicy tuna. We have some fun toppings. If you guys have been to Sushi Confidential before, you know we're not very traditional, so we add a lot of fun ingredients. So we're giving you guys some of those fun ingredients to play with. Traditionally, we have some black and white sesame seeds. We have some green onions. We're also adding in some macadamia nuts. We have some tobiko, which is the flying fish roe. We have some jalapenos, some tempura crunch. Obviously, we have ginger and wasabi. And then we have 3 sauces. We have the unagi sauce, which is a reduced soy sauce. They call it the eel sauce. We have a sweet and sour sauce. We actually put that on our one of our most famous rolls at the restaurant, the Cabo Conspiracy. And then everyone loves spicy mayo, so we have that as well. So here's all the ingredients. We also have a bamboo mat for you to be able to use. We have some soy sauce and of course chopsticks. Since you're at home, you can use your fingers if you need to. No one's gonna judge you in any way, but this is gonna be fun, all right? Let's get started. So we pretty much have everything in the kit that you're gonna need. There's a few items that you're gonna have at home that we don't have in the kit. So obviously you're gonna need your own knife, a standard knife that's not serrated. You just want it to be a very sharp edge. You'll be able to use that to cut the sushi roll. You want a butter knife, everyone has these. This is how we put the avocado on the roll. So you'll see me using that. If you guys have any sriracha at home, obviously sriracha, some of you like super spicy, so you can add sriracha to the roll. At the restaurant at Sushi Confidential, we do have one of our most popular rolls called the Geisha Girl. We put thin slices of lemon, so if you happen to have a lemon at home, you can put some lemon on top or inside of the roll. Sapporo, we always want a beer while we're drinking doing this. It's a lot of fun. And we also have sake. So you can definitely, when you call the restaurant, you can add a Sapporo, you can add some sake to it just to make it even more fun for you guys, especially obviously the adults. And lastly, if you guys feel a little bit daring or advanced, what we're also doing is you can upgrade. And if you want to make some of your rolls into a rainbow roll, or if you want to learn how to do nigiri, we're also doing a 4-piece tuna, salmon, and shrimp. So you can upgrade and do that, and then you guys can make rainbow rolls. You can add some of the lemon on top. You can try to mimic what we do for our geisha girl. So a lot of fun options that you have with our sushi making kit. And one last thing, you'll also need cutting boards. So everyone I'm sure has cutting boards, so doesn't matter the size. Obviously, as long as it fits for one person, that's gonna work great for you guys. So that's all the things, all the additional things that you're gonna need for this. And we're gonna get started. I'm gonna teach you guys how to make sushi. So first off, what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut one of the avocados. I'm gonna show you guys how to cut an avocado. So we're just gonna cut the top part of the edge off. We're just gonna cut straight down. And then there's a big seed on the inside. So we're gonna put the blade in and go straight in till it hits the seed. And then now we're gonna just rotate this. And then we're gonna just spin this and it opens up like that. You wanna be careful taking the pit out. So I usually have a little rag that I have here. And what I end up doing is I just stab that and then it comes right out. I'm gonna just set that off to the side. So now you're good on the avocado. We got that set and I'll show you what we'll do with that in a little bit. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a sushi roll. So you wanna grab your nori, and nori is dried seaweed. It's very dry. It can tear very easily. So we have to be very careful with the seaweed. Seaweed now, because it's dried, it's gonna want water. So when we put the rice on here, the rice has moisture in it. So it's actually gonna stick to the seaweed. What we don't wanna do is we don't want water to drop on this. So we have our water bowl here. And the important thing for the water bowl is we wanna wet our hands. If your hands are dry and you touch the rice, that's why they call it sticky rice. It's gonna stick to your hands. We don't want it to stick to our hands. We want it to stick to the seaweed to make the sushi roll. So when you dip your hands in the water, you just wanna lightly rub them. I have a damp towel here that I just kind of make sure my hands don't get too wet. And now I'm gonna grab this rice. I wanna grab about a tennis ball size. Not a softball, not a golf ball, but we want a tennis ball size. And we don't want to smash it as we're doing this. We've spent so much time to keep all the individual grains of rice that it will be able to spread nice and easily over the seaweed. So now I'm just gonna go from left to right, kind of like you're reading a book, and I have starch on my hands because I just touched the rice. So I have to constantly rub that starch off, and then I have to wet my hands again, but I don't want to drip on the sushi roll. And now I'm gonna evenly spread all this rice right on top of this nori. And what you don't wanna do is if you do too much, then your roll is just gonna have way too much rice. So we want, like I said, about a tennis ball size of rice, and then it's gonna do about 2 to 3 layers of rice on your nori. Now, one of the biggest things that happens when someone's making this is they forget to flip it over. Nowadays, we do inside-out rolls where we don't want to put the fish on top of the rice. You can't fit a lot of fish that way. So you want to flip it over and make sure that the rice now is touching the cutting board. Once you do that, we're gonna now pick what we want. We're gonna start off with a simple California roll. So I'm gonna grab some crab. And one thing you don't wanna do is put too much crab in there. If you guys have ever made a burrito at home and you load up the burrito with beans and rice and all this other stuff, and then you try to close it and it just kind of blows apart, that's exactly what could happen with this sushi roll. So it's better to do a little bit less than too much, especially if you're adding multiple ingredients in there. So it's best to only do 2, maybe 3 ingredients inside of the roll. So as you can see here, right in the middle of the roll, I put some crab. Now what I'm gonna do is, I have my avocado. I'm gonna put a little avocado, and this is where the butter knife comes in play. So now with the butter knife, I'm just gonna lightly cut And then I just kind of put it right here, right on the inside of the roll. Just a nice little sliver. Now I'm going all the way across. You want to start on one end, go all the way to the other end, and you want to make sure that you get to the ends. Otherwise, when you cut the roll into 8 pieces, you want the ends to be full of all the fish and avocado too. I'm also going to put a piece of cucumber in here. So we have cucumber already cut for you. So I'm going to put that in there as well. Now, as you can tell, I keep wetting my hands, wiping all the starch off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to finish the roll. So now I have this seaweed. The seaweed has sucked a lot of the moisture out of the rice. So now it won't tear as easy. Remember when I had this and it tore very easy? Well, now that the seaweed has soaked a lot of the moisture out, now it kind of bends a little bit. It won't tear as easy. And now what I do is I roll it away from me, and this rice now, because it's sticky, it kind of acts as a glue. And I want to make sure that we tuck all of the fish, crab, avocado, cucumber, whatever you put inside, we want to tuck that in, and you want to be able to see kind of a seam right here. That's the seam that's going to allow you to close the roll. So now I close the roll. So it's almost done. Now we have to shape the roll. What you can do before you even get started is we want to wrap our maki mat. This maki mat is made out of bamboo. And if I were to put this maki mat right on top of this rice, all the rice is going to stick to this. So the best thing to do, you want to grab some plastic wrap. And what we're going to do is we're going to wrap the bamboo mat, because this plastic wrap actually acts almost as like a layer of water, kind of like with your hands. So I'm going to just wrap this. All right, so now we just wrap the mat. So now with this mat, I don't have to get it wet because it already has plastic and it won't stick to the rice. Now I'm just gonna drop this right on top. When I drop it on top, I just kind of lightly form it. If I squeeze the roll too hard, the avocado, the fish can just shoot out the sides. We don't want that to happen. So now I just lightly form that. And then sometimes a little bit kind of gets out on the edges, but that's all right. And you have a sushi roll. It's that easy, guys. Once you guys make the California roll, if you upgraded with the rainbow roll package and you got your 4 pieces of tuna, your 4 pieces of salmon, and your 4 pieces of shrimp, now's the time you want to put that on. What you want to do is grab a piece of your tuna and you want to lay that directly on top. You get your salmon, you could put a piece of salmon right in the middle. Get your piece of shrimp. And then in between all the fish, we want to put a little thin slice of avocado in between the tuna and salmon. Another thin slice between the salmon and shrimp. And then now when you cut it, you want to put plastic wrap over the top. Putting the plastic wrap over the top and pushing it down is going to allow you to cut it without the fish falling off. So now you want to wet the knife, get that blade wet, and you want to cut right down the middle on the other side, right down the middle, back on the right side. And then now you want to cut it in the middle again on each of those. So this is going to allow you to have 8 total pieces. Once you do that, you grab your maki mat that has plastic on it, and when plastic touches plastic, this will actually lift that plastic right off. Every now and then a piece of fish might come off with it. So now I got all that plastic off that I just cut, and then now I have my rainbow roll. Now I get to add some toppings to it. Usually you don't add toppings until after you cut it, but there are some things that you could put on right now before you cut it. Here's some sesame seeds. So we're gonna just sprinkle some sesame seeds. This is your typical California roll. I usually don't put anything else other than sesame seeds until we cut it. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut it. Now kids, we don't want you playing around with the knives and cutting it. Have your mom or dad do this. So what you wanna do, I obviously have my trusted sushi knife here, but you don't need a sushi knife. I'm just gonna use a standard knife that we have in our kitchen here. And when you cut the roll, you wanna make sure that the blade gets wet. Remember, my hands had to be wet before I touched the rice. We had to make sure that we put plastic wrap on the bamboo mat so the rice didn't stick to it. So what I'm gonna do is now my water bowl that I had here, I'm just gonna, you can see the water dripping off of the blade. And that's what we want. And when we cut it, we're gonna cut it right down the middle. And normally you don't want to cut back and forth. Remember, we're not using a serrated knife. And if you have a sharp knife, you should be able to do just one straight cut. But if you're not experienced at it, you want to just put your fingers on each side and you can go back and forth until it cuts, but you want to cut it in half. So now we have two halves, and then now I'm going to cut it in half again. So now we have 4 pieces, but obviously we want to make that smaller. I have my towel here. Here's where we want to now wipe the knife. The safest way to wipe the knife, because there's starch and stuff on it, so it gets harder and harder to cut the roll. I'm just going to set my wet towel down, and I'm just going to wipe the blade. And now I'm going to wet the knife again. And then I'm going to now cut it in half again, and then one more over here. I'm going to clean the blade. I'm going to set that off to the side. Now, as you cut it, you can see that the rice kind of comes off just a little bit. So one last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reform it. So I'm just going to reform it lightly. That way it cleans it up. And now you have your sushi roll. So now's the time where you can put it on a plate or keep it on your cutting board if you want. And you lay the roll out. So now I want to add a bunch of toppings to it. I like green onion, so I'm going to sprinkle a little green onion on here. We have some tobiko, the little fish eggs. Some people love them. Other people, they pop in their mouth and it kind of scares them, so they don't always like to have the tobiko. Jalapenos. When you guys touch these jalapenos, you have to be very careful. If you wear contacts or anything, you got to be careful. So you just want to really wash your hands after touching jalapeno, or use a glove, or maybe use a spoon to put it on there. But the jalapeno oils can stick to your fingers. So I'm almost done. I have macadamia nuts over here. I have tempura crunch, but I'm gonna drizzle a little bit of unagi sauce on here. So you just wanna go really light, kind of go back and forth in action. Get a nice good drizzle there. The spicy mayo, it's a little bit thick, so it may not be able to drizzle like that. So I'm just gonna put a little bit here on the side. And I'm going to add a little bit of tempura crunch. So you can just grab some of this tempura crunch, sprinkle that across the top. And I mean, I'm at home, so I'm ready to eat right now. I'm going to just get some soy sauce. I get a little bit of wasabi out here. I'm doing this just right on the cutting board because I'm just making sushi for myself. Put a little soy sauce on there. Mix that together, put a little spicy mayo. Here you go. Wow, sushi at home, that's bomb. You guys can do it too. Let me know if you have any questions. You can always email me, sushirandy@gmail.com. I'll tell you whatever else you need to know. See you guys soon.